First of all, good morning, and thank you so much. When you turn the news on today, you never know what you'll find. We want a sense of justice because it seems like impunity is the rule of the game nowadays. Let me start with the data that we have in Rappler. You know that last week on Tuesday, President Duterte was arrested in Manila and is now at The Hague. So there is always hope, and it always comes from action. This is where it all begins, data. I became a journalist because information is power. That's where it all begins. And when we used to have a public information ecosystem where everyone was held accountable, society moved well. We had a shared reality. Big data transformed all of this, and it was at a time when technology had absolutely no guardrails. All of the tech that governs our world today that we touch, none of it is anchored in facts, because it doesn't make enough money in facts. So on social media, when you talk about artificial intelligence, this is something, it's a marketing term that was coined in 1956. And truly, when this was rolled out, when AI was rolled out on social media, everyone on Facebook, for example, and I use Facebook because for 6 years in a row, Filipinos were online. We spent the most time online and on social media globally. 100% of Filipinos on the internet were on Facebook. Facebook was our internet. And the Cambridge Analytica whistleblower actually said that the Philippines was the petri dish where they tested tactics of mass manipulation. If it worked in our country, they went to the West, specifically targeting America. What happened on social media? Well, what happened was machine learning created a model of every one of us, and then it was used to, artificial intelligence came in and took those models, replaced the word model with clone. They cloned each of us, pulled it all together, that's the master load database, and for profit, they then micro-targeted it, right? That's machine learning and AI, and it's only gotten worse with generative AI. Let's talk about some of the things that did happen. This is the kind of reward system, like a slot machine, quick opportunity, unpredictable rewards, and quick repetition. These are the things that came out of that. Information warfare, right? The things that were once used for advertising and marketing became tools for geopolitical power, and it affected us at a personal level, at a sociological level, because people behave in groups. We've known this since the Solomon Asch studies in the 60s, and then now what we're seeing play out globally is really what happens when facts, truth, and trust die. And we need to move to that higher level of the impact on our species itself, emergent human behavior. The easy part, shortened attention span, sure, the impact on our kids, what the US Surgeon General called the epidemic of loneliness. But here's the stuff we lived through in the Philippines. Friends of Friends algorithm, a growth algorithm that was used by the American tech companies, which when Duterte was elected in 2016, if you were pro-Duterte, you moved further right. Anti-Duterte, you moved further left. And over time, that's what's called the filter bubble. That's why society is further polarized. All of these other things, doxing, dogpiling, bullying, and harassment. From the inside Facebook, Yael Eisenstadt, I see sitting here, having a knowledge of both the way security works, the way diplomacy works, and working inside Facebook gave us great insight. What's the impact of this? It's been transformative. The first step that I really pushed out was electoral integrity. How can you have integrity of elections if you don't have integrity of facts, right? And we've shown this because as of 2018, MIT said that lies spread 6 times faster. If you're a journalist, you're handcuffed because what we saw in the Philippine data is in 2017, if you lace it with fear, anger, and hate, it spreads even faster. That's your viral spread. So 2 things happen if you want information operations. You seed a meta-narrative, and then you opportunistically pound that meta-narrative to get viral spread. We've seen the electoral integrity impact, and it took until last year for a country to actually have the courage to say it's been manipulated. That's Romania. Romania took that action. Now imagine if the UK in 2016 during Brexit, where the evidence showed, where the data showed manipulation, or the US in 2016 had that same courage. And I'll say, aside from the electoral integrity, March 13th, VDEM came out with a new study that said now about 3 out of 4 people around the world, or about 72%, live under authoritarian rule, rolling us back to 1978 levels. But here's the last part. In almost every country Little Rappler worked in, and we learned a lot, because when you're the target, you don't have to ask the platforms for data. It's both a curse and a blessing, right? I was getting an average of 90 hate messages per hour, but I had all the data and we could see how we were being manipulated. In every country, the fracture lines that are pounded by information operations are gender and race. And part of the reason that we have seen increased attacks against journalists in the last 17 or 18 years as democracy slides is because of the pounding of the fracture lines of these societies. Let me quickly show you what we lived through in the Philippines. 2016, I wrote 2 of the 3 parts of this weaponization of the internet series. I gave all the data to Facebook. How Facebook algorithms impact democracy. And then my co-founder, Chai Hofilenya, wrote Fake Accounts and Manufactured Reality on Social Media. This is 2016. And what we found was that we looked at a sock puppet of 26 fake accounts. We took an Excel sheet and handed every single thing that these fake accounts said they were, what school they went to, where they were from. Every single thing was a lie. But then we took their power, the 26 fake accounts, they reached at least 3 million others. 26 fake accounts, 3 million others, right? That's how reality began to change. We mapped it. This is the first of many, many waves of disinformation that helped Rodrigo Duterte win office. This was the attack against journalists in the Philippines, so organized that it's broken down by demographic. These were the attacks that I went through, and there's a lot more, but I want you to see the scope of it. It's not rational, because what big tech has done is to hack our biology, to change the way we feel. When they do that, it changes the way we see the world, which changes the way we act, and ultimately changes the way we vote, right? So here, I'm not corrupt. No, I'm not corrupt. But what happened was they look at everything else. How I look, how I sound. They began to attack, looking for any vulnerability you can have. I have dry skin if you have eczema, right? Until these attacks happened, I was embarrassed by it. But then they actually made me stronger. The kind of dehumanization that we've seen around other women, my nickname was Scrotum Face. And when I went to Facebook and told them about this, this is coming out. I think it was my mom who first sent it to me. They said, "Oh, but Maria, you're a public figure." No, the Philippines has a constitution like the United States. There's a Bill of Rights. Freedom of the press is enshrined in that Bill of Rights. Didn't matter, because it was, for many men, until today, impunity. They're very, very creative. This is 1,000 Cuts, the PBS film, and that's a Facebook page. You don't see it, it's below here, but it's Vove PH. And look how creative they are. Scrotum Face appears again. I'm not alone. In fact, I'm lucky with the people who have been there. UNESCO came out with this 2022 report against violence against women journalists. 73% experienced online abuse. 25% of those experienced threats of physical violence, and of that, 20% had been attacked or abused in the real world. Online violence is real world violence. When you create toxic sludge, it infects. Like a virus of lies, it infects real people. I just want to go to generative AI very quickly and show you how much worse it can get. I had just spent time with President Macron and the Nobel AIs, I'll start with their warning. Do not send out AI agents without safety measures. Don't roll them out into the public. We've rolled them out into the public. This is the first of the generative AI, and so this would have been like December 2022. We found it and did a story after we got the data in March, a Russian scam network. And let me show you this is just deep audio. Can we pull up the audio, please?
Today I want to share one of my big secrets. What helped me to become a successful person is to quickly jump into new opportunities without any hesitation. And right now, my number one source of income is a new automated cryptocurrency trading program. This is the biggest opportunity I've seen.
I don't believe in cryptocurrency. Sorry. I never said that. Certainly sounds like me. I just want to leave you with 3 things that are global in scope, right? And these have been trends. This is early. This is 4 years ago, and it has gotten significantly worse today. How does it spread? Well, from politics, it spreads through culture, which is where a lot of the shifts in people happen. They allow conspiracies to spread outside these echo chambers. And you can see here we did a case study in Kenya on sexual reproductive health narratives, and then another one, lots in the Philippines. Health issues spread this way as well. Disinformation and propaganda, which would have been off to the side, now can get into mainstream. They reach much wider audiences and infect them with a virus of lies. Once that happens, your cognitive bias kicks in. Here, this is the way a society changes reality, changes history. And I can show you what happened in the Philippines. This is over time. Radical networks that reject mainstream media and fact checkers. In this particular instance, it was about the Marcos wealth. In 1986, the People Power Revolt kicked out, ousted peacefully Ferdinand Marcos Sr. And I just want you to look over here. This is 2013. Closest to me, all the way at the bottom, which you may not see, is 2022. The orange are fact checkers and news organizations. The green is the disinformation. Literally, you can watch history changed in front of our eyes because starting in 2014, not surprisingly, the same time that Russia ceded the meta-narrative to allow it to annex Crimea and 8 years later to invade Ukraine itself, well, this one was about Marcos being the corrupt kleptocrat that was ousted in people power, now being the greatest leader the Philippines has ever known. And the wealth that they had, it's because they found Marcos gold, right? So in 2014, our president was wearing a Jedi Knight outfit and holding a lightsaber. But I show you this because you can see that the news organizations tried to hold the line. You really can't see it here, but it grows over time, and the meta-narrative of Marcos' wealth has grown, and people believed it enough that he was elected overwhelmingly in 2022, the only son and namesake of Marcos elected as our president. Again, he did arrest Duterte. Last 2 points. The far-right groups co-opted the language of human rights. This is what Sophia Nobel called the flattening of meaning. People have no idea what words mean anymore. Democracy here in Germany means different things from democracy the way China uses it. But here we used an example from the Philippines with anti-science, conspiracy theories, and disinformation, and as well as in Canada. You're seeing this play out globally. And finally, the fourth, use of moral, emotional language versus process-oriented, more technical narratives. Why do you need those technical narratives? Because that's how you bridge and heal divides with facts. This is now impossible in our world today, right? And again, here's an example of a map that we did from Kenya. We've done this in India, in Moldova, and of course in Southeast Asia, right? But what happens? The language, this kind of moral, emotional language pushes us out of nuanced empathy and pushes us into fear, anger, and hate. It affects our culture, and religion plays a role. In the Philippines, what we saw is when established religions, when the five major religions do not jump in, who does? Cults. So we had Apollo Quiboloy, Duterte's pastor, wanted by the FBI for sex trafficking, also arrested last year, but people believe him. He calls himself the Son of God. Last, you get less news in your feed. This is beginning in 2023. I know this because I run a news website. Facebook began actively choking traffic. You know, as of January this year, they killed fact checking. So facts don't matter. Generative AI, search generative experience began rolling out in 125 countries in 2023. And what we are seeing today is the enshittification of the internet. And that's a tip to Cory Doctorow. I'll leave it with this. You know, we decided in the Philippines, Little Rappler, 120 people, we do not have a lot of money. And yet, we're building our own public tech because that is what democratic governments have forgotten. They've left us. It is a safety issue. We are now in an environment where our virtual world, so incredibly important, has been manipulated for profit. I'll leave you with just the three things Dmitry Muratov and about 300 Nobel Laureate civil society groups in Europe pushed out in April 2022. Number one, stop surveillance for profit. Number two, stop coded bias, right? Because if you are a woman, LGBTQ+, if you come from the global south, like I do, if you are an ethnic minority, if you're marginalized in any way in the real world, you're further marginalized online. Colonialism didn't die, says Chris Wiley. It moved online. And finally, the last part, and I'm not sure journalism will survive this year. Journalism is the antidote to tyranny, but we need your help. Thank you.